Iran has officially announced that the revenge against Israel is on its way, and a senior advisor in the Iranian parliament published an image depicting a nuclear strike on Israel. In addition, Iranian officials are also threatening Europe, saying that drones may attack a European city soon. In the Gaza Strip, the IDF and the Shin Bet continue the targeted assassinations of dozens of senior Hamas figures just in the past week. However, Hamas is not out of the game just yet. They still have cards to play, including their endless conflict with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation over the distribution of humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip. This week, they've been offering bounties on the heads of humanitarian workers. In the northern arena, there's good news and bad news. Syrian interim president Abu Muhammad al-Julani is cooking up a huge deal to upgrade the new Syria, while Hezbollah chief Naim Qassem seems to have gone mad. Hezbollah has launched a bizarre campaign and will try to figure out what is behind it. Welcome to Boots on the Ground. I'm your host, Yair Pinto, reporting about all the truth with everything that is happening in Israel. Sadly, not everyone is interested in the truth. A senior Iranian official declared over the weekend that Israel tried to assassinate the president of Iran and it will pay the price. And according to this official, extensive investigations are underway in Iran amid suspicion that Mossad spies enabled the precise strike in which the president was wounded. We'll have some more details about this. And meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the IDF is intensifying strikes as Hamas warns of espionage and the black market is flourishing. And amid ceasefire talks, the Air Force is striking dozens of targets in the Gaza Strip, while Hamas locates concealed devices and warns operatives against using phones. So, what is the Israeli Air Force hitting in Gaza Strip? The focus of these strikes is terrorists in units working to rebuild the military capabilities of the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad terrorist organizations. On Sunday evening, it published a list of arch murderers eliminated in the past 2 weeks, focusing on the north and the south of the Gaza Strip. And in related news, the IDF has continued to destroy Hamas capabilities and equipment both above and below the ground all over the Gaza Strip. And amidst all of this kinetic activity in Israel, people wonder what further pressure can be applied to Hamas to make the organization retreat from its stubborn positions. Israel still holds thousands of terrorists, controls supply centers, and has the threat over Hamas leaders even outside of Israel around the world. And yet, Hamas is sticking to its maximalist demands. Background criticism targets Qatar, the mediator, for spreading lies against Israel via Al Jazeera and other channels. While all of this is going on in the Gaza Strip, events in Lebanon are also moving forward, but at a very uneven pace. The internationally recognized government in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, is dragging its feet in regards to disarming Hezbollah, despite pressure from the Trump administration, fearing this will spark a civil war. And senior security officials warn that Israel's patience has limits and that ultimately it will have to act more forcefully to dismantle Hezbollah's weapons. And speaking of Hezbollah's weapons, the IDF is choking Hezbollah's oxygen tube from Syria. The smuggling session between Syria and Lebanon is beginning, but this time it faces a main obstacle, which is the IDF's firm hold on Mount Hermon. From this strategic base, the IDF deploys ambushes, observation posts, and patrols on the Syrian slope of Hermon and on the smuggling routes to thwart the operations. But Hezbollah is not going down without a fight. In parallel with talks about disarmament, Hezbollah has in recent days launched a new propaganda campaign under the slogan, "We will not give up the weapons," while Iran has expressed sharp dissatisfaction with any attempt to disarm Hezbollah. I can only imagine how they must feel about their own disarmament at the hands of Mossad and the Israeli Air Force in the recent conflict in Iran. Now, getting back to Syria, after the lifting of the United States sanctions, Syria has signed an $800 million agreement with DP World to develop the port of Tartus, constituting Syria's first step on the road to economic rehabilitation. Last, but certainly not least, Israel is on its way towards a new generation of interception missiles, as the CEO of Israel Aerospace Industries revealed that Arrow 4 is expected to become operational very soon. So guys, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on day 647 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region acting under the orders of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, which is the head of the crumbling axis of evil in the Middle East. And a moment before we begin, I want to call on you to continue spreading the truth and help us share what's happening in Israel. We need your help because the enemies are trying to spread lies. And how do you fight lies? You share the truth. And then you'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So guys, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And before we get to the reports about Iran's threats and its attempts to regain the lost honor it forfeited in the 12-day war against Israel, I will begin first with the news from the Gaza Strip. While discussion about the ceasefire negotiations are on its way, everyday war life in Gaza continues and is intensifying. The Air Force is striking dozens of targets. Hamas is locating concealed espionage devices and warning its members against wiretapping and other assassinations attempts. The atmosphere in Gaza is described as pulsing with a growing sense of danger. Ongoing evacuations from areas where the IDF operates, while a black market functions under the radar. The IDF Southern Command forces continue their operational activities against the terrorist organizations throughout the Gaza Strip under the guidance of military intelligence and the Shin Bet. And in the past 24 hours, the 99th Division and the 162nd Division operating in the Bet Hanun area in the north of the Gaza Strip eliminated terrorists and destroyed terror infrastructures, weapons, and underground routes. The forces also located and destroyed a missile launcher that was intended for terror activities. And at the same time, forces of the 98th Division operating in the same area located and destroyed operational apartments, eliminated terrorists, and destroyed additional terror infrastructures. In Khan Yunis, in Gaza also in the southern part, forces of the 36th Division continue to operate. In addition, Gaza Division forces operated in the south of the Gaza Strip and destroyed dozens of terror infrastructures and struck many terrorists from the air, guided by the division's fire complex. The Air Force took extensive part in the activity and during the past 24 hours attacked more than 150 targets throughout the Gaza Strip. Amongst the targets that were struck with support from the ground forces, terrorists, booby-trap buildings, weapons depots, anti-tank and sniper launch positions, and areas where explosives were planted. But this is the day-to-day activity that we've been reporting to you for months. In recent days, something new has come up. In a joint announcement by the IDF spokesperson's unit and the Shin Bet spokesperson, they stated that during the past 2 weeks, the IDF, led by the Southern Command and the Shin Bet, attacked and eliminated a series of commanders in various units of the military wing of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The units were working to rebuild the organization's military capabilities, including the weapons production headquarters and the military intelligence array, but they won't be doing that any longer. And in a related story, humanitarian aid continues to enter Gaza, although the security establishment admits there is no enforcement and no way to prevent the aid from reaching Hamas. On Sunday morning, 58 trucks entered the Gaza Strip on behalf of the Jordanian charity in cooperation with the Jordanian Army and the United Nations World Food Program. The coordinator of government activities in the Palestinian territories confirmed at the end of the week on the unit's X account in English that under the instructions of the political echelon, 150,000 liters of fuel were transferred this week through Kerem Shalom crossing in Israel to the Gaza Strip under the heading Essential Humanitarian Systems. The fuel entered despite the absence of a ceasefire, when in practice it is the lifeline of the Strip, the resources that drives everything. And I'm talking about hospitals, bakeries, transportation, communication, and not infrequently also Hamas mechanisms as well. What can you do? Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report about every development on this subject. So guys, keep spreading the truth, share, follow us, and most importantly, do not forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now, before we move on, I want to tell you about something that I wish was being talked about more in mainstream media around the world, and that is the tremendous struggles that Israelis are facing on the home front in Israel every day. Even while this war continues, thousands of hard-working men and women across Israel who put everything on hold to show up for the IDF reserve duties and volunteered for all kinds of other projects in Israel are doing everything that they can to get back on their feet. So business owners, artisans, farmers, shopkeepers, many of them paused everything to serve and defend the country of Israel, to evacuate from their homes or just to survive. Now they're trying to rebuild what was lost. So that's where Artza comes in. Artza partners directly with small businesses in Israel, buying their handmade products and sharing them with people around the world through their subscription boxes. Every box that you get brings real income to people working hard to start over in Israel, reopen a workshop, restock a shelf, or simply pay the bills. So if you want to support the recovery and get an Artza box filled with amazing stuff from the land of Israel, please go to www.artzabox.com/TBNIL. And don't forget to use the code TBNIL for an extra 10% off your subscription. Again, that's www.artzabox.com/TBNIL. It's a simple way to help Israel and to be part of the Holy Land in return. Now, before we move on, I want to thank you for standing with us, and I have some more details for you about the ongoing threats for Iran. But first, we have another short report from the Gaza Strip. The Hamas terrorist organization is distributing messages in Gaza saying it is offering bounties for the heads of the American and Palestinian aid workers of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF. The foundation, which operates under IDF authorization and is financially supported by the United States, runs 4 supply distribution centers in the Gaza Strip, and its activity disrupts Hamas's control over the population, and Hamas doesn't like that. So their threatening messages are joined by the Israeli and the Egyptian intelligence warnings that Hamas is diverting parts of its forces to the mission of attacking those centers and the civilians who come to them, as it seems that this is a real threat to the terrorist organization. Last week, 2 American aid workers were wounded after a fragmentation grenade was thrown at them near one of the supply centers. So 2 weeks earlier, more than 10 Palestinian aid workers were wounded in a Hamas attack on a bus taking them to one of the centers. Another 10 were injured, and Hamas prevented them from being treated at a hospital in Khan Yunis. In a statement, GHF sharply criticized media outlets around the world that published Hamas propaganda lies without oversight, lies meant to harm the operation. The statement said, "For weeks, we warned that this would happen. We asked the aid community to condemn the threats. They remained silent. We asked the media to stop whitewashing Hamas's lies. They kept publishing. Today, Hamas continued and attacked United States veterans with grenades while they were delivering food." The silence is deafening. At what point is allowing Hamas to terrorize aid workers and run a propaganda campaign to Western media no longer acceptable? And guys, in a related story, the IDF confirmed that in a small number of incidents, there was IDF fire intended to push back Palestinians who had entered areas close to IDF forces, and in some cases, hits were identified, but the number is much smaller than the claimed by the media reports. This fire was from tanks in one case and from Navy vessels in the other, and subsequent reports to Israel mentioned about 20 to 30 casualties in those incidents. A senior security source told the Israel Hayom media portal that Hamas is doing everything it can to harm these distribution centers, including killing Palestinians. What's astonishing is the willingness of major media outlets in Israel and the world to buy the false narrative that Hamas presents. With one hand, it kills those who come to receive food rations, and with the other, it documents and sends footage to the media as if Israel did it and not a few outlets that cooperated. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will keep reporting on every development on this topic and bring you all the truth about what is happening in Israel. And as always, we invite you to click on the subscribe button so that you stay tuned to the truth in real time and never miss an episode of Boots on the Ground. Now, we're shifting our focus to the threat from Iran, as a senior advisor in the Iranian parliament published an image in recent days showing a nuclear strike on Israel, according to a report on Saturday in the media portal Iran International. According to the report, Mehdi Mohammadi, who serves as a strategic advisor to the parliament speaker Muhammad Bakr Kalibak, posted an Instagram stories and a map of Israel with two mushroom clouds, the familiar symbol of an atomic explosion over the country of Israel. The post comes while Iran continues to officially deny any intention to develop nuclear weapons. Tehran claims that international concerns about its nuclear program stem solely from political considerations. Nevertheless, Mohammadi's image conveys a clear threat towards Israel, especially in light of his senior role in Iran's political system. Although Mohammadi posted the image on his personal initiative on social media, experts view it as an expression of mounting pressure on the Iranian regime. The use of the image of a nuclear strike on Israel reflects a radicalization in Iran's internal discourse, as it joins other signals indicating that parts of Iran's political establishment are seriously considering the nuclear option as an answer to external threats, while diplomatic efforts to prevent this are encountering difficulties. And meanwhile, on Saturday, it was reported by the semi-official Fars news agency that Iran's president Masoud Pezeshkian was wounded in the leg during an Israeli strike on a meeting of Iran's Supreme National Security Council last month. And according to the report, the strike occurred on the 16th of June in the morning hours, when regime top officials conveyed in lower floors of a building in western Tehran, the capital of Iran. Amidst all of this, a former senior Iranian official warned during an interview with State TV on Saturday that 5 drones could attack a European city in the near future. The former official, Muhammad Javad Larjani, previously served as a senior figure in Iran's judiciary and as the top advisor to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. He said in the interview that Europeans can no longer move comfortably in their countries following the 12-day war between Iran and Israel. The unusual threat comes at a particularly sensitive time for Iran, facing growing international pressure over its nuclear program. Britain, France, and Germany, the three European signatories to the 2015 nuclear deal, are now considering reinstating United Nations sanctions against Tehran. Tension peaked this month when Iran expelled the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors, claiming that they serve political purposes and passed intelligence to Israel and to the United States of America. However, Western intelligence bodies have already warned of growing Iranian threat. And last week, the United Kingdom Parliament's Intelligence and the Security Committee published a report stating that Iran poses a severe threat to Britain's national security on a level comparable to Russia and China. Already last week, the European Parliament warned that the regime's use of criminal networks as terror proxies in Europe constitutes a grave threat to our internal security. But Lirjani is not just making threats against Europe. Last week he said that United States President Donald Trump did something supporting Israel's war against Iran, so he can no longer sunbathe at Mar-a-Lago. While he's lying there with his belly to the sun, a small drone might hit him in the navel. It's very simple. This is according to the Iranian threats on the United States president. But wait, there is more. A senior Iranian also warned of another United States-Israeli strike on Iran, declaring that the United States and Israel know that if they strike again, our response will be heavier and more unpredictable. That sounds like a bluff to me, but he was a bit more honest when he referred to the last month's confrontation with Israel, admitting that Iran was surprised by the Israeli strike on the 13th of June. Specifically, he said, "We didn't expect such technologies to be used in the strike. They inserted and deployed many agents inside Iran." To this point, he added that more than 700 Iranians were arrested on suspicion of collaborating with Israel. And once again, my personal opinion is that all this bluster and tough talk is meant to intimidate the West, and there's not much to back it up. But just the same, these blunt threats reflect the dangerous escalation in tensions between Iran and the West, and raise real concerns that the confrontation could spill beyond the Middle East and reach directly into European cities. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on every development involving Iran's Revolutionary Guards and pray for their downfall and for the liberation of the Iranian people from the hands of the IRGC. So guys, keep spreading the truth, give a like, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so that you'll never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. Now, we're shifting our focus to Israel's northern arena, where the situation in Lebanon is evidence of Israel's successes in subduing the enemy, deterring it, and creating a new political reality. With that having been said, IDF figures also show that the Hezbollah terrorist organization is constantly violating the ceasefire agreement. During the week, internal data were compiled on the scope of the violation and the effectiveness of enforcement by the South Lebanon Army during the ceasefire. The data show that Hezbollah violates the agreement 7 times every day, adding up to a staggering 1,590 incidents that were recorded. In addition, Israel has transferred to the international mechanism more than 1,200 Hezbollah violations. Of these, 650 violations were passed to the Lebanese army for handling. The rest, the IDF has struck or will strike in the future on its own. The Lebanese army itself identified a further 390 violations and reported that it had dealt with them. But how effective is the enforcement of the Lebanese army? So, according to the official data, it handled 52% of all the violations, including 440 of the targets that Israel passed to the mechanism. Most of these incidents in which the Lebanese army managed to enforce the ceasefire are concentrated in the south of the country. Even so, IDF Northern Command had to sort out 73 violations that were not dealt with by the Lebanese army. Tom Barak, the United States Special Envoy to Syria, said at a press conference in New York over the weekend that there is a limited time frame for resolving the situation in Lebanon, linked to President Trump's patience, as he put it. Barak went on to explain that although President Trump is known for his patience, that patience is not unlimited. He loves Lebanon very much. Perhaps no American president has shown such love for Lebanon since Dwight Eisenhower. The Lebanese must move forward. They must seize this opportunity. There is already interaction with us, and therefore I'm optimistic, even if at times I'm frustrated. Regarding Hezbollah's disarmament, Barak said that if consensus is reached in the Lebanese government and amongst the three heads of the state, the president, the prime minister, and the speaker of parliament, and Hezbollah gradually agrees to relinquish its heavy weapons, this could be seen as a beginning. He added, in Lebanon, everyone has small arms, but the talk here is about weapons that can affect Israel. This is a process that needs support and the strengthening of the Lebanese army's capabilities so that it will carry out the mission of collecting the weapons. He further elaborated by saying that the problem is that the army has not been paid salaries for some time. That is one of the obstacles. All these components have to happen simultaneously. Strengthening the Lebanese army, which has a respectable reputation amongst the Lebanese people, so it can conduct a soft negotiation with Hezbollah on a mechanism for returning and collecting the weapons without igniting a civil war. After all, these weapons are stored in parking lots, in basements, and under houses. Now, I need to emphasize something that Barak said in case anybody doesn't understand. The reason for the Lebanese government's delay in dealing with the Hezbollah weapons issue is fear of a civil war. This paralysis in decision-making at the top of Lebanon regarding Hezbollah's disarmament means that the Lebanese state is not meeting its commitments to dismantle this terrorist organization's arsenal, thereby delaying the opening of a new era in Lebanon. That raises the question of why are President Joseph Aoun and his government not taking advantage of the international support that they have and the public mood that firmly demands Hezbollah's disarmament. One possibility is that they're simply not sure how to proceed, but another possibility is that they're hoping someone else does the job for them. Senior security sources say that the Trump administration has given the Lebanese leadership a 4-month period to disarm Hezbollah and that 3 months remain to accomplish this mission. However, the Lebanese government is dragging its feet while expecting the United States, Europe, and the Gulf states to help it achieve stability, yet at the same time, it is not acting to disarm Hezbollah. This foot dragging damages the credibility of the Lebanese leadership, but it may well be intentional. It does not want to be blamed for bringing a new civil war to Lebanon, and it does so knowingly. It is playing a double game and wants Israel to do the dirty work for it, namely to destroy what remains of Hezbollah's forces, just as Israel once drove the PLO out of Lebanon. This is a recurrent historical pattern. Israel expelled the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, from Lebanon. The Security Council forced Syria's withdrawal from Lebanon, and now Israel is expected to do the same with Hezbollah. As infuriating as that is, there is a certain amount of logic to it. Israel completely controls Lebanese airspace. Its drones circle over the country all day, gathering information and striking Hezbollah operatives, while Hezbollah continues its efforts to arm itself and smuggle weapons. Yet, its capability to act in a small fraction of what it once was, and Israel definitely has the upper hand in this situation. Hezbollah has few good options and will likely continue to fade away until it's gone completely. However, senior security officials warn that ultimately there is a limit to American and Israeli patience and to consideration of Lebanese President Joseph Aoun's concerns. According to them, if the Lebanese National Army does not act, Israel can still dismantle Hezbollah's weapons in a quiet, consistent, and sustained operation lasting a few months. It is only a political decision, and Israel is coordinating its positions with the Trump administration, which is also already impatient. Hezbollah is stretching the rope, and it will pay a heavy price for that, as will the Lebanese government. Nobody likes a free rider, no matter how good the excuse might be. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to fight for the truth and share it every day. And guys, please help us. How can you help us? You can hit the subscribe button, you can share, you can leave a comment, you can give us a like. But the most important thing that you can do is keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Guys, now we're keeping our focus on the northern arena as the General Authority of Syria for Land and Seaports signed an agreement this week with the United Arab Emirates DP World Industrial Conglomerate that is nothing short of historic. The deal focuses on two main tracks: developing a multi-purpose terminal at the strategic port of Tartus on the Mediterranean coast and establishing industrial zones and free trade areas that will open the door to further investment. It is worth $800 million, and it signals Syria's return to the international economic arena after years of isolation, and this is according to Reuters. The agreement, signed in the presence of Syrian President Abu Muhammad al-Julani and with the support of the United States of America, is a direct continuation of the Memorandum of Understanding signed with the Emirati Ports Company in May. Beyond that, the timing of the agreement is no coincidence. Last month, United States President Donald Trump signed an executive order canceling the sanctions program on Syria, a move that opened the gates for the country's return to the international financial system. Lifting the sanctions not only allows foreign investment, but also facilitates humanitarian organizations' activities and opens new trade channels. Developing the port of Tartus represents a clear strategic move as it is located on the Mediterranean coast and is expected to serve as a central gateway for trade with the Middle East and Europe, and to become a driving force in rebuilding the Syrian economy, which has severely damaged during the long civil war. However, the agreement with the DP World symbolizes more than just an economic deal. It marks a milestone on Syria's path to reintegration into the international community. After years of exclusion and destruction, the country is taking practical steps to rehabilitate its infrastructure and build economic bridges with regional neighbors. The deal presents a picture of a state looking forward, leveraging recent geopolitical changes to regain its status as a regional economic power. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we wish our neighbors in Syria the best of success in rebuilding their country in a peaceful way, and I personally hope that we can help them. There has been talk of Syria joining the Abraham Accords, and if that happens, I'd love to visit Syria myself, especially the parts mentioned in the Bible. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to spread the truth, and you guys, please keep praying for Israel. Prayer works. When you pray, make it personal, because God listens. Pray for an IDF soldier. Pray for a hostage and his or her family that are waiting back at home. Pray for all the innocent lives that are affected by these terrorist organizations, and keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.